All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this class. My name is Abby. I work for Craft Express. We are a company that offers a variety of products, but our bread and butter is sublimation. We have a lot of experience put together, more than 20 years of experience with sublimation, and I love these Q&As. So as we go along, please leave your questions in the comments, and Felicia will help me read those out, and I will be so happy to assist you with any doubts that you may have. We're going to be talking about sublimation and just kind of what it is, how to get started, the equipments that you may need depending on the blanks that you will be sublimating. And then I have some demos that we can go along, and I can show you a little bit of what we offer. All the products that I'm using are available at michaels.com. And you can find us in social platforms as Craft Express US. All right, so what is sublimation? Sublimation in a scientific form is the process in which we turn a solid into a gas, and it completely skips the liquid form. So now let's transfer that information into the technique in the crafting industry. So what sublimation is we need the use of a printer. Let me move this machine aside so you can view an option of printer. So there's different options of sublimation printers. Right there beside me, I have the Brother printer. I also own a Sawgrass, and there's an Epson printer. All these printers are dedicated printers for sublimation. They do include sublimation inks because it's a process of three things. Okay, so in order to create our solid that turns into a gas, we need to print it with the sublimation printer. And in order to do that, we need sublimation printer with sublimation inks and sublimation paper. All these three put together are the perfect combination to create our project that we are going to sublimate to. So that paper that we print has all the special ink and that we need to transfer over to a substrate or a solid, right? And there are different types of substrates. You can do this on fabric, and you can do this on things like ceramic, glass, and stainless steel. But in order for this process to work, we need these substrates to be coated with polyester or polymer. And so in the case like of a mug that I'm holding here, this is not like any mug that you can pick up from the store and you just place your item and sublimate. It is a mug that is coated with polymer. And what happens is when it gets in contact with heat, because we do need a heat source, those polymers open up, and that ink that we transfer is absorbed, and it becomes something permanent. Now, before, sublimation was a process that required big equipment, and it's changed so much. Whoops, it's evolutionized so much that now we have we have the equipment at home. We can do these things at home, and they are something that is permanent. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to fade away. It is so amazing, and there's different ways that you can do that. One of which we talked about with a sublimation printer. Were there any questions so far? Because I saw something pop up, but I don't know if it was questions.
It was a question asking what printer is best to use and the best program to use for sublimation.
Those are all great questions. So I recommend any sublimation dedicated printer. So at the beginning, I mentioned Sawgrass, the Brother printer, and then there's Epson. All these printers come with a program, right, to use with your sublimation printer. And the great thing about it is that these programs work with your printer and work with the substrates that you are using. You can adjust the quality of the print. In some cases, like a Sawgrass, you can select even the type of substrate that you are using. So you can definitely use their programs to do that. Now, there's other options, like if you are good at designing, you can use Illustrator, there's Photoshop, and there's Canva. I'm a Canva fan myself. So a lot of the prints that you will see me use during the classes that we will be sharing here um, with Michael's are from Canva. And there you can design your templates, and then you would have to download those in a PDF format to print them using the software of your printer. I hope that answers the question. So maybe, summarizing it a little bit, go with a sublimation printer, any of the three that I mentioned. That will depend on your budget, and I would recommend that you go over and look at them, the descriptions, and just kind of see which one fits more of your needs.
There was a couple of questions that came in after that. What is a substrate? Can you use the same paper for sublimation on cups and clothing? And will you offer Canva classes in the future?
Oh, I don't think about the Canva classes, but as far as the substrate, let's take the first question. Substrate. So a substrate is a piece of material that is blank. There's no design on it, and then you're going to transfer a design. So a substrate can be a mug, it can be a tote bag or a pencil case, a keychain. So basically is a plain item that you will then transfer a design to. Now, as far as the sublimation paper, the same sublimation print paper that you use for a shirt is the same one you can use for any other blank. Now, there are different types of sublimation paper. I can share my experience with our Craft Express sublimation paper, and this one works perfectly with any of the blanks that you choose, whether it is a fabric, an acrylic, ceramic, stainless steel, or glass. It works perfect, and you're gonna get a great transfer. Was there, I think I saw another question, right?
It is. It says, can the printers being used only print sublimation?
Yes. So when you purchase a sublimation printer, you will only use it for sublimation print. It's not for regular use. You're going to see a difference too. If you look at a sublimation print, and then we see once you transfer it, the colors when you print them are dull. So it will not work anyways. If you try to do a regular print, your colors will be off. So yes, you need exclusively for sublimation, and then if you're trying to do regular prints, you would purchase a printer for those regular prints. Sorry.
That's all the questions for now. Well, one just came in. What brand of sublimation is best?
What can you repeat that?
What brand of sublimation paper is best?
Okay, so again, I can only speak for Craft Express sublimation paper. That's the one I've been using, and it's amazing. I can show you different samples so you can take a look at the colors. And again, remember that I said sublimation when you print it, it's dull. And if you take a look at my prints, they're pretty good, pretty vibrant. Once you transfer them, the transfer is amazing. Just take a look at this. Once you transfer a design over to your blank, they tend to be even more vibrant. So I 100% recommend our Craft Express sublimation paper.
Uh-oh.
Like,
And so there's another question asking, how do you get your printer to print the size of the paper?
okay. I'm trying to understand the question.
So I
Uh,
think what they're asking is, let's say you have, how do you change the size if you wanted to do a t-shirt compared to if you wanted to put it on a mug?
Oh, great question. So what I do is if I'm doing a t-shirt, or for example, if I'm doing like this one, this was actually 4 images in one piece of paper. And so what I do is I take a ruler or a tape measure, and I'm going to measure the size that I want my design to be, right? So I measure first how big I need it. And if, for example, I'm using Canva, because I'm going to do a pencil case, I just input the size of a regular piece of paper, and then I input my design, and I measure it according to the size that I need it. In the case of like a mug or a tumbler, I measure the circumference and the height, and then I input that size on Canva. There's an option for custom size. I input my size there on Canva, and I drop my images. And then once you print it, it's going to print on your sublimation paper. So if you're using an 8.5 by 11, it will print under that sizing, and all it will do is size your image to what you need, or your wrap to the size that you need it for. I hope that makes sense and it wasn't confusing.
The next question is, can you repeat the software to use? They bought some equipment for their niece, but the niece has left the country, so they wasn't for sure of the software. And then the next question is, does the sublimation paper have a glossy effect?
Those are two great questions. So as far as software, like I mentioned, it depends on your printer, because every printer has their own software. As for design purposes, there's different options, like I mentioned, Photoshop, Illustrator, Canva, any of those would work. The paper, does it have a glossy finish? The finish will depend more on the blank. So if you look at my ceramic mug, it is shiny. You can see the light reflecting on it. If you use a tumbler, tumblers are shiny unless you pick a matte finish, then that's the effect that you will get. Vibrancy, when I speak about vibrancy, is just how bright the colors look on the paper, and then how bright they look after you transfer them. So I am actually going to do a demo, and then we can keep answering questions, and just so you can have a better idea of what I mean in terms of the vibrancy. So look at the colors here first. These are the two images we're going to transfer over to our mug. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, with the lint roller, clean my mug, remove lint. Some people prefer to use rubbing alcohol, so that's another great option. And then let me bring my tape dispenser over to this side, and we are going to tape this down here. I'm only doing two images, so one on each side, like that. And I've actually already adjusted the pressure on my press. And what that means is just how wide the heating barrel opens to fit the different size of mugs or tumblers that we are using. And then I have set the time and temperature to 392 degrees Fahrenheit for 210 seconds. And that's the time and temperature for a mug. If you're using stainless steel or glass, the time and temperature will be different. So I also recommend that you are familiar with the time and temperature of the blank that you're using, of the substrate you're using, and that will also depend on the brand. So the time and temperatures that I share with you will be based on our products. So here is my press. It's been set to 392 degrees. And I'm just going to show you real quick how to do that. So if I hit set, the first number on my screen will be my heat. And just using the arrows, I can adjust it. Once we have that set, we press set again. It saves the settings, and then we can adjust the temperature. And I have it again. Oops, I actually have it at 120. What did I say? 392 for 210 seconds. So I'm sorry about the beeping. And if there's any questions, Felicia, I can answer those. Okay, and we hit set and it's saved. So now we are ready to sublimate it. It's been preheated. I had it on before we jumped into the class, and I'm going to slide my mug inside here. We're going to close it up. Okay, and if you notice, when I closed my mug, there was tension, but I wasn't struggling to close it. That's something important as well when we're talking about sublimation and adjusting the pressure. What that means is how much that barrel opens and closes it up. But we also want to make sure that we're not adding too much pressure where we're kind of struggling to close our press, because what that happens is we end up overcooking the the product, in this case the ceramic, and then our colors will be off. For example, darker colors like red, a dark blue, or a black will look faded, or will look completely different color, like the red turns to orange and the black turns to brown. So adjusting the pressure and knowing the right time and temperature for what you are pressing will give you the best results. I saw a question pop up.
There is a few questions now.
Okay.
So the next question is, how do you print your design in Canva? And I actually can answer that one for you.
Okay.
So you can't really print in Canva. You would have to put it into a different software that you already have in order to print.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you want to add to that, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. You either you download it as a PNG file or you download it as a PDF print, then you would transfer over to the print software. Mm-hmm.
And the
That
next
was
question is, when printing, what if the item is larger than an 8.5 by 11?
That's a good question. So there are printers like this one that print letter size, or the largest format they print is an A4. And then there's printers. So Sawgrass has the Sawgrass SG 1000. So that one is a larger format. I think the largest it prints is 11 by 17. If you still want to do larger prints, I've done them. What I do is just um divide my design in two pieces of paper and then tape them together. So it's a larger process for that. Tape them together and then transfer it over. So if you're looking to do larger prints, I would highly recommend getting a printer that does larger prints, not just the regular 8.5 by 11.
And how do you find images you want?
Well, there's different places you can definitely go to search for images. Again, I'm gonna go to Canva because that's a very friendly beginner um site that you can use. There's a lot of images under elements there, and that's where I picked mine. You just put in like a phrase or a word of what you're searching for, and you're going to see there is a huge list of images. I think
And
we
just
had
to
another.
add, I would say you could definitely go to websites like Creative Fabrica,
Mm-hmm.
and they have sublimation images as well. There's different sites out there, but just pick, the more trusted sites
Yeah.
out there. I would also say check Etsy out as well. There's different sites out there where you can find different images for that. The next question is where do you find the time and temperature for each item?
Great question. So under our products, you will always find a time and temperature guide. We have also shared one with Michael's that you can use. I can send it again to Felicia so that she can share it under this video. And you can access that. And that's the time and temperature we use for our blinks. But look how cute. I love this. This is like my favorite part. We call it the wow factor at Craft Express. Just seeing how beautiful and vibrant those colors look after you transfer them. And I don't know if you remember before when I showed you the print, it was vibrant. And then look at it on the mug. It looks so much more vibrant and beautiful. Love it. Was there anything else?
Oh, yes. Is the press or the oven better for use?
That's the most common question. I love when people ask that. And this is why I love it. I think that there's blanks that are used. I don't think I know that there's blanks that we use on the tumbler press. And then there's blanks that cannot be used in a tumbler press, and that's where the oven comes in. So there's two scenarios. One would be that you do mugs, or you do tumblers, and it's something that you get a few orders in if you're doing this as a business or for school events. And so the tumbler press is fantastic for that. It will fit 11-ounce mugs up to 30-ounce tumblers. There is additional attachments that you can purchase for larger um, blanks, like a 40-ounce tumbler. And then the oven, this is the two scenarios for the oven. One is having to sublimate blanks that don't fit on the tumbler press. Or an example, if you are using a taper tumbler, and a taper tumbler kind of has this unique shape where it's larger on the top and skinnier on the bottom. Now, if we want to do a simple one-sided image like this one, we can definitely do it on the tumbler press, right? We just adjust the top part and we adjust the bottom part to fit our tumbler. But if I wanted to do a full wrap on this tumbler, that's when the oven comes in handy, because you can print a full wrap, tape it down, place your shrink your film using a heat gun, and place it in your oven, and you can have a full transfer, full sublimation print. Another scenario is other unique shape tumblers like this one. And this one, we wouldn't be able to sublimate it on here because it's just, it's round here. It really doesn't have like like the taper where it was thicker here, skinnier on the bottom. It has several curves and edges where it wouldn't be able to sublimate here, and that's when we use the oven. The other scenario is assuming you are being part of a soccer club and you're making several tumblers at once with the image. You can press more than one tumbler using the oven. So they're both, one is not better than the other. It's more like, what are the types of substrates or blanks that you will be sublimating? What makes sense to you? So I love both of them. I use both of them. I used all our machines here. It just depends on what you are trying to accomplish with it.
Okay. And Audra, I think she may have answered your question, but the pressers that she's using is by Craft Express.
And
They was
for
asking what type of press you were using.
yes, all of them are Craft Express. So I work for Craft Express, and all of the products you see here are Craft Express products.
Awesome. There's another question that's asking, I'm wanting to start sublimation. Can you go over all the items needed and any suggestions for the oven tumbler, which I think you just went over that part.
I went over that part. So what do you need to get started with sublimation will depend on what substrate you want to start with. If you want to start with tumblers, then you would need an example, a tumbler press, your tumblers, definitely sublimation paper, your printer. And then I always say that a tape dispenser is highly needed and recommended. Just because it does the work for you. You don't have to like balance your tumbler and then try to hold your tape with one hand and cut it at the same time, tape it. This does the half of the work for you. That way it makes it easier. So your thermal tape or heat resistant tape, a tape dispenser, and gloves. So in the case of a mug, I can just grab it from the handle and it doesn't, it's not hot, and I can pull it out. But if I were to do a tumbler and I'm rotating it, I definitely need a heat resistant glove that will keep my hands safe and away from all that heat. So a glove, going back to everything, your sublimation printer, your sublimation paper, your heat source. So in like example, a tumbler, your blank, thermal tape, and a heat glove. And I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not missing anything else, but I think those are like the main items that you would need.
I think you got it. There's another question asking, can you put paint and epoxy a tumbler to enhance design? And if so, best paint for that.
I'm assuming after pressing it. You can, but it doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. For example, these tumblers here that I have a sample of. I sublimate it and you can tell that it's shiny, it's vibrant. You don't need epoxy on it because this ink is not going to go anywhere. I could put this in the dishwasher and this is not going to wash off. It's not going to fade. It's scratch resistant, so there is no need to add anything else to it. Because as it is, it will last you a very, very long time. Like I've said this before, I've had shirts that I've sublimated and my shirts are starting to get like they look old, but the ink is there as vibrant as it was the first day I sublimated. So sublimation is just permanent. Was
There's another, there's another question asking, how do you adjust the colors to come out right when you print?
Okay, so as far as the colors go, it will depend on the printer you're using. My experience is when you use a sublimation printer, a printer that is actually dedicated for sublimation, you won't run into that issue where the colors are off. As like make sure you are selecting the right print quality. Again, for like sawgrass, they have options to choose between like ceramic, acrylic, stainless steel, glass. They have options there to choose from that the program itself or the print mate that they use is like a print manager. It adjusts the color for you. So you don't even have to do any manual adjustments for that. And your colors should look great. Also will depend on your paper. I have seen with our Craft Express sublimation paper that the colors look vibrant and they look closer enough to what it looks on your image. Your print will not look the same from the image you see on your computer because what will make it vibrant will be the combination of that heat with your substrate. So I hope that makes sense. If you're seeing that your colors are off when you print it, try sublimating it because they do look brighter once you sublimate.
And the next two questions is asking, are Stanley Cups sublimation safe? And what makes the color come out wrong, the look of almost burnt?
Those are two great questions. So there are sublimation tumblers that look similar to the Stanley. I have one, it's right next to me, that looks similar to a Stanley. Okay, there's not the same because that's a brand. So you cannot sublimate any tumbler. It has to be a tumbler coated with polymer to then it's what is needed to absorb that ink. Okay, so it can't be a Stanley, it can't be any other tumbler or mug that you pick up from the store. It has to be one that is coated. And again, there's um Michaels where you can purchase the items that are for sublimation. They will always say for sublimation on the tags. And then the other question was why, like how to adjust the color so they don't look burnt, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so when I explained about the press, we talked about using the correct time and temperature. The other is having the right amount of pressure. And the way I explained it was that your press has pressure when you're closing it. It shouldn't jump when you open it, and you shouldn't feel like you're wrestling your press when you're closing it. If you make sure that these three things, one, two, three, yeah, that these three things are correct, your colors will turn out perfect. The other thing is, if you noticed, I removed my paper as soon as it came out of my press. I didn't wait for it to cool off. Because what happens is your product is hot. Like for this one, it was almost 400 degrees Fahrenheit that it was in there. So if you keep your paper on it, the process of sublimation is still going on because of that heat. So if you leave it there for too long, your colors will look off. It starts like evaporating. So what you want to do is remove the paper right away to ensure that your colors are the way that they should look. 392 degrees for 210 seconds is enough time for this one. The longer you leave it there, the longer you are going through that process. I hope that makes sense.
That is all the questions so far. In case you want to go over some other items.
Okay, great. All right, so one thing that I forgot to mention when I was showing you this, but I hope you were able to catch that, especially because there was words on it. When you print your design, it prints mirror. And that's because when we are transferring over, you see it on the opposite side, right? You see it, yes, it looks opposite. So you make sure that when you're sublimating on ceramic, a tumbler, that it's mirror. Now there is products like acrylic keychains that you can also find at michaels.com. These products you're sublimating on the back so it appears on the front. So these type of products you do not mirror. So take for example this print. You can actually read the name on this print. So if I place my blank, this is the side, this side is white. This is the side we're sublimating on. You can actually see through it the design and the name. So again, anything that is stainless steel, ceramic, stainless steel, a glass tumbler, you would mirror it. Products like this is mostly blanks that are flat, like an acrylic. We also have a cheese board, a glass cheese board. Those type of items you would print regular. You wouldn't mirror your design. Was there something else? Another question?
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay. Then let's move on to another option of sublimation. Let's say you are not ready to jump into purchasing a printer yet. You're trying to decide, but you want to get a taste of what it's like to sublimate. We also have sublimation markers, and these are super fun to use with family at home. Your kids can draw with them and then transfer them over to any sublimation blank. And then we also have transfer sheets, which are the ones that have here on the side. You can actually cut them with a cutting machine and then transfer your design onto the blank because it is a paper that has a sublimation ink, and it's the colors that you see on there is what you will get after you transfer them. The markers are really cool. You can even print a black and white image or a coloring page and color it and then transfer it, or you can take any piece of printer paper and draw on it and transfer it. So I want to show you an example how these look. Now these can also be used in a cutting machine and have the machine, draw the image for you, or you can use them to color. I'm gonna just color here lightly, just you can see how the ink looks when you color. And then again, to activate the transfer, we need that heat source and the blank that you are transferring your design over to. So I'm going to show you real quick how that looks. And I did it quickly, so it doesn't look perfect, but that's the red and that's the ink. Then once you transfer it, it's going to look as vibrant as any other transfer like this one. So we have those other options if you're not ready yet to commit to a sublimation printer, but want to experience sublimation. These two are great options. So again, we have the markers and the transfer sheets all available at michaels.com. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to quickly color this in.
There's one, while you're doing that, there's one question that came in. Stacy was a little late to class and or they were wondering about stainless steel tumblers, and what the process would be, and how do you get your pattern and the wording over design?
Okay, so stainless steel tumblers, make sure they're for sublimation, so coated with polymer, and then your design will depend on the software. You would have to do everything on the software and create your template, then print it to be able to transfer it. Was that the question?
I think so. For the way you explained it, that sounds, and the way it was asked is kind of because I'm hoping they're not thinking about vinyl because, again, like you said, in your design, once you actually create your design, you will put your wording all there in one so you don't have to try to layer anything. You would layer it within your design so that then all you have to do is just press it that one time. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're saying. There's a question asking, can the markers work on mugs and fabric as well?
Yes. So it is like it's just the same as printing, except you're using the markers to draw. So it will work on any sublimation substrate. So whether that's fabric, when we talk about fabric, make sure that is 100% polyester or in a minimum of like 50-50. So 50% polyester, 50% cotton. But the higher count of polyester, the better your transfer will be. Like it will be brighter. If you if you take the same image, place it on 100% polyester, and then place it on a 50-50, you will notice that the colors are a lot more vibrant on 100% polyester. So
Awesome.
yes, it does work.
And so the next question is asking, would you use an iron as a heat source for drawing?
So we don't recommend using a home iron for sublimation at all, just because it doesn't reach the high temperatures nor the required pressure to transfer a design. So any home irons wouldn't work. You can use a heat press like the one I have here, a clamshell. We also have handheld presses that you can use. We have this mini press that you can use to sublimate, but no home irons.
Okay. And Stacy was just making sure. Um, so there's no need to do an overlay of the wording of the design like the tumbler you have on the table.
Yes, this was all the print. So what I did is I chose the design, the background. I placed it on Canva, for example, and then I chose the writing, placed it on there, and printed all together. There is no layering on this. No layering. Same thing like this, where the name is on the background and it's all in one piece of paper.
All right. And you're welcome, Stacy. Um, can you do this process on hair ribbons?
If your ribbon is polyester, yes, it works.
Uh,
And I've done that and it looks really cool. It's really cool. I love it.
And I don't want to mispronounce, I'm not for sure if that's Thailand. And as she mentioned, it must be um some type of poly. It would not work on 100% cotton shirts.
No, it needs to be polyester.
All right. That was the last question so far.
Okay, so I'm almost done, you guys. It's going to look scribble scrabble, so we're going to pretend that one of my boys made this, okay? Pretend with me, because I'm trying to do this quickly to show you. We're gonna transfer it over to another mug so I can show you how it looks, since I did see a lot of interest in this technique specifically. And again, these are fun. Especially during the summer break, they're bored. The boys are bored, so they need something fun to do and they love to draw. So I have them draw and then we transfer these over to shirts or a mug or a cup that they can use. And it's always so fun to see how happy they get just to see, that they've created something themselves. I'm trying to pick different colors so you can see um all the colors together. Okay, doing this quickly and I'm done. I'm going to show you how it looks like right now. A little bit messy, but that's how it looks. And then we're going to transfer this one over to another mug so I can show you this process. And if you still have questions, make sure you drop them there so we can answer them. Another thing, right now I'm only placing this design on one side of my mug. Just have in mind that once you press an item, you cannot go over and press it again. If you do, the colors on the other end will fade. It's going to evaporate. So make sure that whatever's going to go on it, it goes on the first time. Using my tape here. All right, so we're going to take this on my press. Now, because it is markers, if you notice at the beginning, I didn't even use butcher paper to cover it, but this is a marker and it will definitely transfer to my press. So in order to protect my press, I'm going to stick a piece of butcher paper around it, and then we're going to press it. Same amount of time. Notice how this time I'm using markers, but I'm going to sublimate at the same temperature. 392 for 210 seconds. So it doesn't matter if you are doing a sublimation print, if you are doing the markers, or if you're doing any of the transfer sheets, always go based on the temperature and time that is recommended for the blank that you are using.
And what type of paper were you using for that? And
That
also,
was, yes, sorry.
go ahead.
That was a printed sublimation paper, but if I were to have drawn it freehand, you can use any printer paper.
Awesome. And so Sheila's asking on a full wrap tumbler, what is suggested to keep the two sides to match to avoid the white from the tumbler from showing?
That's a really good question. Well, I have this one here. All right, so this one here, I'm going to show you a really good one and a one that's not too good. All right, so this one here, the background, the flowers on the back slightly didn't match. So first of all, on our 20-ounce skinny tumblers, I measured the circumference and the height and determined that my template for the perfect size would be 9.32 inches in width and then 8.0 in height. So I created a template on that based on that size. I dropped down my images. Now, if you want a seamless tumbler, because what you are explaining is a seamless tumbler, like this one, where you can't see where those two ends met together, you want to make sure, one, that the size of your template is exact. So again, for our 20-ounce is 9.32 inches in width. And you want to make sure that your base image or your base image is uniform. It looks the same from one end to the other. If it's a little off, you will see the difference. But if your image is exactly the same one side to the other, that's what will give you a seamless tumbler. So that's my number one recommendation. Find and measure it first. Make sure you have the right width. And then next would be to find an image that is uniform, that is the same from end to end, all across. Do we have any other questions?
I am looking, there is one asking, how important is it to use butcher paper for wrapping?
That's a good question. So butcher paper, I normally use it more when I'm pressing any flat item because, or like this one, this image here that I chose, I have a lot of ink on this side and on this side. Now to press it, we want to flip it over so the heat is directly on the side that we're pressing it on. So if I press it like this, my ink will transfer over to my press and I don't want to stain it. So that's where I would sandwich this with butcher paper to ensure that it doesn't stain my press. Also in the case of this one that I know the ink from the markers tends to seep out, then I use the butcher paper. Most of the time, honestly speaking, I don't use butcher paper for like a tumbler and a regular print. But it is mostly used to protect your press. That's the purpose of it. All right, I'm turning that off so I don't forget. And let me show you the transfer. This one, again, was done with the markers. Can you see there how my ink went through? That's what we want to protect the press from. from the ink coming through.
While you're doing that, I'm just gonna quickly ask Karen, can you, Karen, can you kind of give us more detail when you say sublimating on material? Because are you asking on a t-shirt? What if you can clarify what exactly what type of material you're asking for, that'll be great. There is another question that came in. It says, can you use parchment paper if you don't have butcher paper?
Parchment paper. Make sure that it's not shiny, that it's not too shiny, because sometimes it sticks. I would, but yes, parchment paper works as well. If you feel like it's too thin, do double layer.
Okay.
But that's the marker transfer. Notice how it's as vibrant as a sublimation print. These, again, this is really a fun activity to do with children.
Okay. So they were asking about other material. I guess they were wondering if you could do like a shirt or a canvas bag that you may have done, that you may have sublimated on. Do you have any other examples that you
Yes,
may
I
have
have.
sublimated?
All right, so I have here a drawstring bag. They wanted to see an example. They wanted me to press an example. Here is a pressed example. And this is one of our drawstring bags, a glitter drawstring bag. And you can see how beautiful all those colors transfer. This was done on the heat press here. And this is one of our canvas. It's the same one here. It's on a canvas pencil case.
So yes, the question is if you had any examples that you can press on, I guess to show how you would press it on like a template, excuse me, on a bag or a t-shirt.
Yeah, let's do
And
that. Go
when you
ahead.
mentioned when you made that point about the ink getting on your machine, is it easy to clean off?
So what I recommend if that happens, if you end up accidentally staining, is to wipe it off with a cloth, just with water. Or you can also grab a blank and wrap it with butcher paper and press it a couple times so that that ink gets transferred over. But those are the only two options I would recommend. Never spray any form of liquid on your press.
Liz, can you redo your question again? I'm not understanding it.
We still, yeah.
Cairo, I'm going, yes, to your question. Cairo's asking, so fabric, either shirt or canvas, should be polyester. So
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to press this one. It's a pencil case. And I'm going to press it at 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 seconds. Now, I don't have something here in hand, but I would recommend putting a piece of cardboard in the interior. This will help us with the pressure as well. But what I do is, because it has a zipper, I keep my zipper on the edge. Then I bring my press down and kind of test again the pressure. And we would just adjust it by moving the knob. So I actually want a little bit more tension when it closes. So I'm going to rotate that knob. That feels right. We're going to let this heat up, and while it heats up, we're going to prep it. Let me move all this. Do we have more questions?
Yes, we do. And it's a pretty good question asking if you can use your sublimation more than once, your image more than once.
I only recommend it using one time, because if you try to press it again another time, you're going to have a faded look. So it's going to look a little vintagey. So if you're looking for a vibrant transfer, definitely only use it one time. And what I'm doing right now is I'm running my lint roller over it to make sure we don't have any lint. And then I'm going to determine where I want my print to go. I actually have this one here, so cute. And I'm going to place this one here. But one thing that I always recommend doing is pressing it before you even press your design. You want to press it for like 5 to 10 seconds. What it does is the heat will remove the moisture, and it will ensure that your colors look a lot better once you transfer them. Do we have any questions right now?
No, I think that is it at the, well, I don't know if I missed what you said. It says, you mean Craft Express. Not for sure what that question was for. But someone is asking, how do you sublimate sequin pillows?
Sequin clothes. So first of all, you want to make sure that that sequence that you're using is actually for sublimation, because not you can't just use any sequence. It can melt, but when you're sublimating on sequence, you want to make sure all your sequins are turned on the white side of your sequence. So let me give you an example here. So we have a sequence pencil case here. This one side is silver, the other side is white. So I would flip all my sequins to the white side of the sequence. And then once you have them all turned, because this is like a puzzle, once you transfer a design on a sequence, either a tote, a shirt, it if one of your sequins is turned on the other side, it will mess up your whole image. So make sure everything's flipped over, pretend that everything's flipped over, then what you would put your design and press it. This one you don't preheat your sequence. And I would use for this one the same time and temperature, 385 for 45 seconds. Keep your zipper outside of the press. And then if you have some form of cardboard or something you can put in the interior that will elevate it a little bit more, it will give you a better transfer. All right, so I'm going to tape it here. Okay, and again, make sure you measure it, and always leave a border around, because sometimes your press will not reach corner to corner or edge to edge because of the oh, I forgot what it's called, the seam on it. So I always leave a border.
I'm going to answer this next question for you while you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Stacey, yes, she did use Canva to create this image. However, you can always use, if let's say you use Cricut or if you use Silhouette, you can also create images there.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is that you can print directly from Cricut and Silhouette, or if you have the brothers, you can print from their studios, their systems. However, with Canva, you would have to download your image as a PNG and then to send it over to be printed.
Mm-hmm.
There's another question asking, can you use sublimation on butcher block? I've seen a bridal board do with a couple name.
I would say as long as it's coated, it should work. If it's not coated with polymer, then it won't work.
All right.
Remember, everything when it comes to sublimation, and everything needs to be coated with polyester, polymer. That's what absorbs the ink. So make sure that it has that coating. Make sure that you are purchasing from a reliable source. Now, again, Michaels has a lot of links on their website from reliable sources that we can guarantee. Like, for example, for our Craft Express products, we can guarantee that you will have an excellent transfer. Still waiting for this to heat up, so keep those questions coming.
Cairo's asking, is vinyl and sublimation printer different product or different process but the same material? If
It
different, which better retention on product as far as lifespan?
Yeah, it's totally different. So vinyl or heat transfer vinyl, any of the two, adhesive vinyl or heat transfer vinyl, they will last you for a certain amount of time, right? It will always depend also um on the company that makes it, right? So those will wash off, they will fall off, they're going to fall off of wherever you're applying it to after a certain time or certain washes, as opposed to doing a sublimation transfer. It is permanent. You're literally transferring ink from one side to another, and the best way that I like to explain it is you have two different elements. When you put them together through heat, again, this is a sublimation print, it becomes one. It's not two. If you're using vinyl, you still have two. It's the vinyl and the blank that you're applying to. It's two things, and you can feel the texture and everything. With sublimation, you're literally creating a single product from two.
There's another question asking, if you leave the zipper out, how do you get the imaging on the very top?
So that's what I was explaining, that because you can feel here when you touch it, you can feel the seam. The colors might be a little faded up the top if you're trying to do a full print. It might be a little bit faded up the top. It will not look exactly the same as the rest or the middle section of your bag. So if you notice, my design is actually in the middle. I didn't do a full print. Okay, still heating up, guys. We're almost there. It's at 316 going up. So we're actually waiting for it to reach 385.
So there's another question asking, what brand of t-shirts for blanks?
There are so many. I would say go into michaels.com and search sublimation t-shirts and see what pops up there. Just remember, as long as it's 100% polyester or 60% higher, that's what I would recommend to purchase.
There's a question asking, is there a way to apply polymer yourself, or does the base product you will use must be purchased through a vendor providing products for sublimation?
I would recommend purchasing from a vendor that provides sublimation products. So for like us, Craft Express, all the products that we carry are coated already. I've heard and I've seen options, but then the likelihood of you actually adding a uniform layer is not that high, right? And you will see a difference of the color transfer from one side to the other. I would recommend just purchasing from a vendor that it's a reliable source, um and that it's already has that coating on the blanks.
Another question is asking, when it comes to subbing on dark colors, what paper do you recommend?
We don't recommend subbing on dark colors. So sublimation is a transparent ink. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it is a transparent ink. It doesn't print on white either. So if you notice, all blanks are white. We do have some blanks that have a glitter. Show you here one. We do have a couple of blanks that have glitter, but they're still lighter tones. We don't recommend sublimating on darker colors because you're not going to get that transfer. You won't be able to see it. Like, this is not done with sublimation. So no dark colors. Always go with like white or very light colors, like a light pink or light blue. No navy, no red, no black. Those will not work.
So the shirt you have on, is that a sublimation?
No, this is not sublimation. This is probably done with DTF or something like that. It's a company t-shirt, so no, it was not done with sublimation.
Awesome. And I know you mentioned just a moment ago again about the butcher block, but I can't remember what you said. If you could go over that again.
The one they were talking about, the wedding
Yes.
design. So what I said is that I haven't seen it. Personally haven't seen it. I don't think we carry those, but if it has a polymer coating, it should work, you know. But I would first check that it is coated for sublimation.
I
And then
think that's all
go
the questions on my side at this moment.
okay. Okay. And then go based again, remember always go based on the time and temperatures provided by the manufacturer who you're purchasing from, right? For like Craft Express, we provide time and temperatures for all our blanks. So you're not trying to guess what time and temperature to use. It will not depend on your press. It mostly will depend on the blank. All right, so we're ready to press it. I'm going to place a piece of butcher paper on top of my print, and because it's so tiny, it actually fits. Not tiny, but it's small enough where my paper covers it. And you may notice here, the zipper is on the outside. And I do have it centered because we want that heat to touch it. And my image is facing up. Direct heat on your image and where you're trying to transfer. And this again is at 385 for 45 seconds. And we just wait. Do we have any more questions?
I'm reading through the comments. And so Stacy was saying, excellent class. Thank you, ladies. There's a question asking, what is a good sublimation program to design in?
So remember, Felicia explained that there's programs, but then there is also the printer software, right? So I explained that, for example, Brother, this is the Brother printer, has a app called Artspira, and you can actually design within the app, and there's an option to hit print, and you print from there directly. But if you're designing from other software like or other programs like Canva, that doesn't have a print software. So you would have to actually transfer it over to the program for your printer. So always print from the program of your printer. Look how cute. I love it. I do this on a daily basis, guys, and I am always in awe after I design something and I press it. Look how gorgeous those colors turned out. And it was so easy.
There's another question. There was some questions that was coming in, so I'm trying to get back to where
Okay.
I was. Oh, she was asking, do you recommend an auto press?
An automatic heat press. We at Craft Express, we actually carry an automatic heat press. Those are great heat sources. Again, when it comes to small blanks, it doesn't matter if you're using a clamshell or an automatic heat press. I would recommend putting something inside to give you more pressure because it's such a thin item. I hope that made sense. My transfer was still good, but let me show you how there's still a little bit of ink on my paper. So don't double press it because you probably can't see it there, but you can see the texture of my bag. So if I press it on the other side, you will see that texture. But then if I had put something in the interior of my bag, you would see a lot more color transfer over. I still love how it looks. It still looks really good, really vibrant. So whether it is an auto heat press or a one of these presses, they all work great.
Anita's asking, what about double size? How do you prevent? I think she meant to put smudge.
How do you prevent smudge when you're pressing on two sides?
I do believe that's the question.
Okay, so if you notice I pressed here this side, if I want to press the other side, what I would do is take a piece of butcher paper and put it there so that it doesn't transfer over because it will still be hot. I would put my paper and tape. Make sure you tape it well. If it's taped well, it's not gonna smudge, especially if you're using a heat press or a flat press that does the pressure for you. It will not move as long as you're taping it down there well. If you're using a handheld press, like a mini press like this one, or one of our handheld presses, you can possibly move it accidentally and smudge it. But again, using any of these options will not smudge as long as you're taping it. So I could definitely do the other side with that smudging. I don't have more prints, but this one's that I would have to color. So that's why I'm not doing the other side.
Okay, so there is another question, similar to well, I want to ask this one question first, and then I'm gonna go back to another question. If
Mhm.
you could explain the difference between a sublimation process compared to DTF process.
Okay, so I haven't done a DTF and I wouldn't be able to show you an example here, right? But DTF does print in a white and it's like sort of like it's a film, right? That you print on that film, you heat it first and then you press it on your shirt. Now that would work on colored shirts, right? If you are doing a sublimation transfer, you don't, it prints in transparent. You would have to do it in a light color or white blank. And DTF is just for fabrics. UV DTF is for substrates like tumblers and mugs and those things. And it's like a sticker that goes on top of it. As far as how much it lasts, I wouldn't be able to do a comparison for that, but that would be the main difference that with DTF you can press on different colors and sublimation only on light colors and on polyester.
Okay, I want to let this be the last question because we are a little bit over. I didn't even realize we were going and we're a little bit over. So there's a question basically saying that I think there's a heat transfer vinyl that may be white and that you can sublimate on. So that's what they were asking when it was asking about if you could sublimate on dark colors.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading the question, and I too have seen that. I can't say how well it works,
Mm-hmm.
but that you can buy different a white heat transfer vinyl um that you can utilize and then press sublimate on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yes,
I think it's more the question.
yeah, I have heard and I have seen those type of adhesive vinyls that are meant for sublimation, right? But then again, it is a vinyl. It's going to go on top of your fabric. It's going to fall off eventually over time, over washes. You will get that vibrant transfer on from the sublimation to the vinyl, but it has a lifespan, right? It won't last you forever like sublimation does directly on the fabric.
Awesome. So again, I'm gonna let that be the last question of the day so we don't go too far over time or run into another class.
Yeah. Yes.
So thank you all so much. Definitely keep a lookout on any more Craft Express classes. We do have some other classes similar to this that are on our YouTube channel. So we would definitely love for you to go visit our YouTube channel, Michael's YouTube channel, for the other classes, and definitely visit Craft Express as well for more information. So until next time, we see you and have a great day.
Thank you.